Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the 2021 Valspar Championship preview. First, thank you for stopping by. I am going to go over the course in detail. I've got a bunch of different some thoughts on the players that we're going to be looking at, the courses I'm going to be comparing to. We are going to go ahead and recap the Zurich Classic team match. I think there were some interesting things there. And yeah, also let's get into it. And I've got a PGA Championship giveaway. So we have the PGA Championship that's coming up in May the 20th, I believe. And I wanted to start this early. I feel like I kind of start these sometimes a little late. And so I want to get this going early so that I can get the money out a little sooner than usual. And what am I doing? So for the giveaway, of course, there is another Millie Maker, $3 million fantasy golf millionaire on DraftKings. It's a $20 entry buy-in. And what I'm doing off the gate is I'm going to be picking 10 winners to pay for your $20 entry into the PGA Championship Millie Maker. But if I get to 500 subscribers by the time that I do the actual random generator spin, I'm going to double it. So I'm going to do 20 winners, which is $400 I'll be giving away. I had a good weekend at the Zurich, and so going to, feeling a little generous and going to share with you guys. And all you need to do, as usual, is like any of these videos. Of course, hopefully you'll like this one, but like any of my videos. And also I need subscribers. So if you have not subscribed and you are seeing value from the content that I keep providing for free, it would be amazing if you could subscribe or reach out to some of your friends and say, hey, this guy actually knows somewhat of what the hell he's doing, and you should check him out. So anyways, that is the giveaway. So starting right now, you need to like this video, subscribe, and then lastly, which I didn't mention, is you need to tell me who you think is going to win the PGA Championship. Of course, that's at Kiowa, at the or the Ocean Course at Kiowa. So anyways, I want to get that out. We're going to do it early. And as I mentioned, the event starts on the 20th of May. So we're, less than a month out. But I wanted to start this early. Okay, enough of that. So real quick, let's recap the Zurich. Of course, we don't have stroke gain analysis, so I don't get to go into, and which I'm not sure. There's a reason. Funny enough, you could see the stroke gain towers there. So if somebody's tracking some data, but we're not getting it, or I don't have access to it, can't find it. But because it's alternate shot and the way the guys are playing, even in best ball, right, as you saw, it's a whole different mentality when, of course, you're playing by yourself. So in best ball, you could see, I think the average scores are around 66. And then you could see, if you broke par on the days of alternate shot, you did well. And ultimately, as I mentioned, the first team that I was on, I kind of skipped the top 4 or 5 teams. And the first team I landed on, if you go back to my show, was, of course, Cam Smith and Leishman. This is not to pat myself on the back, but it was good to see what analysis I could do made sense. And what it was you needed a team that was really strong as both parts, right? You couldn't have a good example would be Morikawa and Wolff. Now, not like you needed to be some genius if you watch a bit of golf to know that Wolff has been struggling mightily. And like I said, maybe in a scramble format that could have worked, but even that would have been tough because Wolff still with the driver was all over the lot. He went down to his 3-wood, started to hit some fairways, but both their putting was not good. Their short game, all in all, they had a disastrous. And, I'm not going to sit here and harp on Morikawa and Wolff. But what I was looking for is guys with good short games. If you remember, it was tee to green, looking for the best team at that. And then it was guys that could putt, both of them, and birdies. And there, as you know, there was not a lot of teams out there that could do all of this. I mean, a perfect example, again, was Champ and Finau. Did amazing when they both got to play their own ball because they both could go full attack mode. And I felt really bad for Finau. I mean, Champ just struggled mightily with putting. And of course, Finau has not been that great of a putter, hence why he hasn't still won. But I thought it could have been a chance for Finau to finally get his second win. The Puerto Rico Open is just hard for me to stomach as his only win. But long story short, that did not happen. Even Victor Hovland and Ventura, which was kind of shocking. They came out, I think led the first day 10 under, or tied 10 under. But, you could see where Ventura, was missing, which is kind of odd. He's usually a pretty good putter, was missing a lot of key putts, just burning holes, getting lip outs. And that's another thing. You got to get the ball's got to fall in. And so it was a cool tournament. I enjoyed it. It was nice to see it back on the schedule. And, I did well. Now, funny enough, on 2 points with the large 200K game, I think there was like 1% of the entries that actually had 6 of 6. I was not one of them. I think I had like 15 teams. I had like 4 or 5 that had, my best were 4 out of 6, and all those cashed. So if you had a 5 out of 6 or a 6 out of 6, you could have been in some serious money. I think only like 5%, 6% actually had 5 out of 6. So, and I believe a lot of that was with DraftKings pricing. It was very difficult to, I had a very good understanding of the teams like the Louis. Rose and Stenson shocked me a little bit with just because Stenson's play has come a lot further. I mean, even his irons, everything looked a lot better putting. Stenson is playing in this event that we'll be discussing here at the Valspar, so something to think about. But yeah, all in all, from my perspective, it was a cool tournament to watch. If you used some of my picks, you did pretty well. That being said, like I said, I didn't hit them all, but overall, off the top of my head, I think I was about probably 75% on. So anyways, okay, let's talk about the Valspar Championship and let's dive into the course. So we are going back to Florida, and we'll be at Palm Harbor, Florida, just right outside of Tampa. And, a lot of similarities of some of the Florida swing courses we already looked at, but there's also quite a bit of differences. And, of course, this is at Innsbruck Resort. Copperhead is the course, built back in 1972. Little fun fact, it actually was a 27-hole course, and then they took 9 of the holes for a different course on there. I think there's 4 courses at the resort. This event actually started back in 2000. It used to be known as the Tampa Bay Classic, and it was kind of an alternate tournament. And I believe, and I'm going to blank now, it was Ernie Els. There was some big pro at the time that played in it and just started to tout how difficult and how great the course was, hence started the popularity and away it went. Of course, the architect was Larry Packard. And we're looking at a par 71, around a little over 7,300 yards. You'll see a little difference this year. That's actually the yardage off the official scorecard for this event coming up. So that should be dead accurate. And they did have a what they call a restoration. I think it was about a $5 million restoration where they redid the fairways and the greens. And it was more of just putting a different type of surface in. So a lot like we just saw at the Zurich, they are going to be putting on Tiff Eagle Bermuda. And the fairways and roughs are Celebration Bermuda. But pretty much all you need to know is Bermuda if you're looking at different kind of splits. These are some larger green complexes. There's some smaller ones, but most will say there's some large green complexes, so we got to watch out for the 3-putts. There's a bit of slope in them. The player field, actually, I think it's at 156. When I pulled up the first time, it was at 151, but somewhere just a little over 150. And, of course, we are back to a full event, and we are at 65 in ties. This is who's going to make it to the weekend. Now, this is where it changes quite a bit from what we've been seeing. Historical cut line is almost like back to the Masters, is 2 to 4 over. So if you go back the past 4 years, you're looking at about that. And winning scores has been anywhere from 7 under to 14 under over that 4-year span. Since the restoration in 2015, Copperhead is actually rated the 6th most difficult course on the PGA Tour. That was in 2018. So in short, there's a lot of players here who have stated that this course could easily hold a U.S. Open, would be very difficult. Of course, if they grew the rough up, it's a very tough track is the simplest way to put it. And a little bit different from a regular kind of Florida track where you just kind of think, oh, there's going to be a bit of, a lot of water. There's going to be, a bit of sand. But there's a lot of elevation here comparative for a typical Florida course. You're going to have shots a little bit like at Augusta where the ball is below you, above you. You're going to be hitting down, swinging down at the ball. You're going to be swinging up, some blind shots. So that's quite a bit different, a little bit of elevation. It is narrow fairways and they're tree lines, so a bit like what we just saw at Harbor Town for the RBC Heritage. As I mentioned, a lot of water, a lot of sand, even some deep sand bunkers. There's sand in the fairway. There's sand guarding around the green, and also there's even on some par fives some double dog legs holes. So what I mean by that, if you're not with that lingo, is that the hole could bend to the right. and then literally it's going to bend back to the left. So, you got to be able to work the ball both directions. Again, a little bit like Augusta. And then, of course, you're going to hear a billion times about the snake pit, almost like the bear trap. There's quite a few of the courses that have these kind of the green mile, these, 3 or, a few holes in a row that are, the challenging. And of course, typically they're at the end of the round, this is no different. So the final 3 finishing holes, you got 16th, 17th, and 18th, are very difficult. And it's 2 par 4s and a par 3 in the middle of that. Of course, they got to have snake names like the Moccasin, the Rattler, the Copperhead. But in short, it's a very tough finish, and the tournament can swing one way or the other due to those, past few holes. All right, I think that's enough on the course side. And then I usually give you guys kind of an overhead look of the layout of the course. I really didn't see a good one that I could use. So this picture actually represents, I think, even better. And again, what you just see, as I mentioned, ton of sand around the greens, sand. We look over here, sand all over in the fairways. You've got ponds and lakes that actually, border quite a few of the holes. I don't know exactly how many holes water comes in play. If I had to guess, I think off the top of my head, it's like 8 or 9 holes. But yeah, just to give you an idea. And again, this is where I'm going to tell you, and I do this every time, is go back and watch the highlights from 2019. Of course, we didn't have the event in 2020. And of course, this event actually used to be in March. It's now been moved to April, so that's a little different. But yeah, go back, and like I said, each round is like 2 to 3 minutes. It's kind of taking PGA Live coverage, and it's awesome to see how some of the guys were doing it the different rounds. But you really get a good look for the course and understanding if you're trying to figure that stuff out. Okay, and now just to give you a little more information. So if we go actually look at the scorecard, and this is from 2019. So some of these holes, I know they lengthened a little bit because what I noticed was at times this course played just a little over 7,200 yards. But this is, as I mentioned, playing over 7,300 yards for the 2021 event. And again, you can look down here. So the snake pit, you can see you got the number 1 handicap hole. You got the number 6 handicap hole, and you got the 7th. So there's that tough finish. The easiest hole would be, of course, number 1. So I guess you get the gentle handshake to start the thing. And so some people have kind of thought, well, of course, your birdie streak can, if you start on the back, if somehow, you could try to pull this together, but that's probably not going to happen. And again, from a showdown perspective, it's split where you got 3 tough holes, of course, on the front. You got 3 tough holes on the back. Your number 1, like I said, birdie opportunity is this, right off the bat, a par 5, which that's kind of interesting for me personally. I've always said this, there's 2 schools of thought. Some people love to tee off on a par 5 because you get to kind of work all of your clubs. You get to make a few more swings, you get to hit a few more of your clubs. But also when you have the number 1 birdie hole to start on, and you're not 100% ready to rock and roll, typically for the amateur, and it's a little different with the pros, right? They've warmed up quite a bit beforehand, but typically as us amateurs, we'll go right out and just, start playing, maybe not even hit the range beforehand. And so, you don't like to have that on the first hole. So, there could be some thought with showdown to start your guys on the back. And, then they have maybe they're a little better off, but you could also start out hot. And, you got 2 par 5s on the front 9 that, is probably your best percentage, definitely from a birdie, but, even just to get a hot round going. So it's really all there. Like I said, in short, you're just happy if your guy is shooting under every day. You're going to, be in a good shape when it all kind of shakes out. And then if I just pull up the past 2 years of past conditions at the course, again, as mentioned already previously, no event in 2020, but 2019, 2018, you're going to see a bit more red than we're used to seeing. Hence, again, why the, they're not going to be shooting 20 under here. And the cut is typically plus. But as you see, scoring relative to par is difficult. You're going to have fast, firm greens. And usually, as I said, this event's played in earlier March. I would guess, it's even drier now. Now, I don't know how much rain I haven't checked has been going on in Florida, but I'm guessing that this is all going to stay pretty true with firm greens. They're probably going to be very fast, if not lightning. The rough length's average, nothing to worry about there. But as mentioned, hitting fairways is a bit difficult. And I don't think there's really an age. Like I said, you'll see here where, say in 2019, for whatever reason, it was less than 7,200 yards. And then went back to where I was kind of talking about with 73. And then, of course, typically, you're pretty good here. You're on the west side of Florida. So maybe not as much issues with the wind. Okay, so how do you actually win at this course? And this is how I'm ranking the skill sets we're going to be needed. So I think it all starts with elite ball strikers. Approach is my number one key stat that I'll be looking at. Because of the larger complexes and a bit of slope, I think putting is going to be really high up there. Also with around the greens, what I can see from even past is definitely a key indicator of what you're going to need to do well here. A ton of sand, fairways and greens, so you're going to be good out of the sand. And also, here we're not so much worried about the distance, unless, there is guys out there that are elite with length and distance. Typically, it's a great combination. But ultimately, you're looking for guys that have good drives, guys that are hitting it, PGA Tour average 280, but hitting fairways is going to be key. The number one proximity to pin, which is a little different than usual, but it's up there at 175 to 200. Again, we got some longer holes. And also just some areas that you can't maybe hit driver. And so a little bit, again, back to RBC, needing elite ball strikers. Scrambling definitely pops up here. 3-putt avoidance, as I said, some larger green complexes. Then you got 7 par 4s that are 400 to 450, which is like the highest. I think there should be 11 par 4s here if it's a par 71, which means you only have 3 par 5s. And I did not verify that, but I'm going off what a typical par 71 is. So you have to make hay on your par 5s. But neither here or there, there's definitely some things. The good news is we have a ton of stroke gain analysis data here. We have a lot of history here. We also have the Florida swing we can look at. And also I even did a thing where Harbortown, I think there's a lot of, some crossover, and I'm going to show that at the end of this. So we'll keep kind of chucking through this. And then we get into past winners. I only went 3 years back. Of course, Jordan Spieth won here. I believe that was like 2015. The year before, I think Mr. Schwartzel won here. But ultimately, we kind of joke around that this is the Paul Casey Open. He's won here back-to-back. And what I want to highlight here is kind of what we were talking about the driving, is that, when you see off the tee, strokes gained off the tee, you got to remember what they're taking into effect is a lot of it's distance, but also somewhat, hitting the fairways. But as you see, that's not key here. You can't lose a ton of strokes off the tee, but every person has won here over the past 4 years. That's not where they did it. They did it on approach, as you see. They did it around the green, and they did it with the putter. And kind of funny enough, if you look tee to green, we're looking for guys that do about gain about 9 strokes tee to green. It was 9.4 here. It was 9.1, 9.3. So, funny enough. But what this is to illustrate is that ultimately hit the fairways. You don't need a lot of length, but you really need to be good on approach around the green and putting. And of course, if you look at the guy who's won here the last 2 years, what does he do? And he's got some length. He's not the longest on tour, but he's not short by any strength. But he's just very accurate, but great with the long irons. I mean, you think of a Garcia, of course, Connors, some guys that just pop in your head that are just elite ball strikers that would do well here. Schwartz was such a while ago, but at that time, which was definitely hitting the putter a little better. I'm sorry, hitting the irons a little better. And Adwin had this crazy run during his time also with his irons, which not in that same form. And while we're here, let's go jump. I'll show you some more past winner information just to help you out, and then we'll get back into this. Okay, so what I'm jumping into here is Fantasy National. And just, what I notice is when I do past winners, I miss some things if I don't go deeper. And so I want to just go a little deeper for you guys so you have the information. And so if you look at, right now I'm looking at 2019. And just to give you a look, you had Paul Casey, Kokrak, Louis Oosthuizen, which I'm going to make the call right now. This is my narrative. I don't usually do this, but he's going to be one of my favorite outright bets. Of course, DraftKings has not released pricing. As you see, salaries are all at $9.99. And also right now, I haven't seen any odds out. I'm recording this about 11:30 on Monday. But if his odds are anything like 25, 30 to 1, I'm going to be all over Louis. And here's my narrative with that. So I don't know if you heard, but Louis, of course, has never won on American soil. His last win was at the Open, and he actually his wife flew in from Florida, so he's from the area, to come see him at the Zurich. And funny enough, I had I don't know if I mentioned this when we were talking about it, but I had a pretty good size bet on Louis and Schwartzwald. I put it in a little later. I didn't put it in on Thursday, and of course, you guys saw what happened. That they had their opportunities and ended up losing in the playoffs. Pretty much when your guy tees off on the first playoff hole and puts it in the water, you're probably not going to win. But long story short, Louis is going to be my pick to win here. I think he could get his, just watching, I mean, I think he carried definitely the Schwartzel team. The guy looked amazing. He's got the perfect game to fit here. He's done well here in the past. So it's not like I'm going off some crazy limb, but Louis never won on American soil. I think this could be his time, and the wife, is going to get to see his first win. So he is going to be definitely one of my picks, and he is a guy that I will be betting to win this. Again, if the odds are, something that's decent, if it's 10-1 or something stupid like that, of course I'm not going to bet it. But just when I saw his name there, I just wanted to make that little side note. Okay. But anyways, you can get a look. Casey, Kokrak, Louis, Bubba, again, a guy that can work the ball back and forth. DJ, again, has a pretty decent history at RBC, off and on. Of course, Luke Donald had just a crazy year, chips him in. He's elite at one time, at one of the most, like a Morikawa led the PGA for a while with his amazing iron play and had a hot putter. You got McCarthy, Luis Galava, who's been hitting the ball pretty well, always been a very elite tee to green, just struggle with the putter. So that just gives you an idea of that. We'll go to 2018. Again, Casey won. Reed had a chance. He was actually tied, I think, going into 18. And I think he hit a putt that went up this elevation and didn't make it all the way up and came back down right to him. Rory, who I kind of call a poor man's Louis Oosthuizen, a lot of similarities in my mind. I mean, of course, they look a little bit alike. One's Czech, one's South African. But long story short, that makes sense. Of course, Kokrak again did well this year. Brandon Grace, you got Burns, who's been playing well. Of course, Louis again pops up. So just a side note. And Russell Knox, I believe this year, it was here in 2019. Actually had an albatross on a par 5 here. That just stood out in my mind. You had Adam Hadwin, Jim Herman, who I believe led the first round, was a first-round leader for this tournament. You had Charles Schwartzel pop up again. Stinson back when elite. And, of course, Hendrick has been playing better. We saw not a terrible showing at the Masters. And, if I remember correctly, around 30th, he made the cut. But, looked pretty solid in the team format at the Zurich. But, will that translate over? Wesley Bryant back in his heyday, but been playing better golf. I think Russ Henley, I've been waiting for Russ Henley to crack. And this definitely could be his tournament to do so. 2016, the year Schwartzel won. You got Ryan Moore, again, kind of a plotter. Charles Hall, too, someone that can work ball. Again, short game. Pops up Steve Stricker, I believe. Is that twice he popped up, or was that the first time? I thought I just saw his name. The captain of the Ryder team. Anyways, Charlie Hoffman pops up quite a bit. Stinson again. Back in the day, a lot of people, would kind of think of Henry Stinson a lot like Paul Casey, just when you're elite with the long irons. And then lastly, we'll look at 2015, which is funny. I guess the winner, with George Spieth, is not in the field. So you got Reed, O'Hare, Stinson, Ryan Moore, some of the same guys. Kokrak just popping up over and over. Charles Howell. So you can see, just like with Casey winning back-to-back, you have to have a certain skill set to do well here. And if you do, and you play your certain skill set well, you're going to show up on the leaderboard over and over. Okay, let's go jump back into this. Okay, so let's take a look at the field. Again, as I mentioned, DraftKings pricing is not out yet, but I wanted to get this out sooner so then I can actually start working on the picks even sooner. But right off the bat, I'm looking at recent form here, and I did create a custom stat model, and I'm pretty happy with it. It's probably what I'm going to go with. I've kind of done some testing, and you'll see a little more of that testing. But I mentioned approach is probably the most heaviest weighted key stroke gain area that I'm looking at. Around the green, putting, good drives. That's kind of the 4 main ones. Also, you see ball striking got put in a little later. I mean, really, I'm kind of hitting that in this. Ball striking kind of combines the tee to green. Also, as I mentioned, that par 4s, there's 7 of them from 4 to 450. Good at scrambling, good in sand. Got to be able to, do well on the par 4s here. Just, maintain, make your pars. You might have the ability to make a few birdies here and there. Of course, like I said, some of the greens are a bit of slope and are bigger. So you're going to need to be able to 3-putt avoidance, I believe, is key. And then the number one, proximity to the pin, is coming in from 175 to 200 yards. And so that's all plugged in there. And then I looked at, this is not looking with any filters. This is just recent form over the past 12 rounds. I click my rank and pop up is Hoffman, Kirk, Connors, Glover. So all the guys that I like to, would think would do well here. Of course, Paul Casey won here twice. He should be up there in the top 10. Sungjae Im, if he's hitting the irons, could be very live. Of course, Griot, great showing at the RBC. But all the guys from tee to green, Kokrak, who's done well here, as just seen, Patrick Reed. So that's always kind of the first sniff test to make sure you're kind of on with what you're looking at from a model perspective. Then I also went and I said, okay, let's just see who the top elite ball strikers are here. And again, this was without any filters. This is just looking at the past 12 rounds. And again, a lot of the similar guys, of course, that should be here. Connors, Griot, Hovland, Kokrak, Answer, Hatton, Hoffman. You can see, a lot of the same exact names. Again, pop into the top 20. And that's using my model that we just discussed. And then I wanted to look at, okay, let's then pop in the comp course filters. And this is taking the yardage. This is taking Bermuda greens. This is taking hard to hit fairways, firm greens, start to pop some of those things in there. Still looking over the last 12 rounds, you're going to see some of the players have not played any of those courses. And the courses, just so you know, is like Bay Hill, CC of Jackson. Of course, you got East Lake. You got the TPC courses, TPC Sawgrass, TPC Southwind, and then you got Scottsdale. Those are the courses that when you start to filter out, that pop up. And then again, funny enough, not a shocker, the number one guy that fits this, stroking kind of model that I built, Paul Casey, that's a great. And then the number two guy, Hendrik Stenson, like I said, it used to be, those are your top two guys you played probably over the last 6 or 7 years at this course. Russ Henley, just elite ball striker with the irons, is just he's been, where is he at with his putting? So it's kind of funny, but this is looking at these courses. He's done well, and of course it's Bermuda. He does well on Bermuda, but his putter hasn't been as good as it used to be. Ches Reavie, Ches just has not been in form, but it is kind of interesting that he pops up here. Han M. Kokrak, again, who's got a great history here. Woodland, who's done pretty well here. The Hofster. Luke Donald. So not a shocker, but just to give you an idea, those are some of the courses. But the other one that I like, and, you could argue this other way, but I think where they just played at Harbor Town is a really good comp course. A little, difference as in length, but not much. But really the skill set that you need to be effective at Valspar is very similar. And even from typically the cut line and even typically where kind of the, winters fall. Now it's all dependent on the weather. And then just to kind of prove that, so what I did is I took the last tournament that we just saw, the last 4 rounds of that. Then I took the last 12 rounds here at Copperhead and took my model and I just put them against each other. And I wanted to see how, who popped up and how many. And so, I could kind of run through this with you. So you see Griot is on the left. He was, third place, I think, in the tournament, or third or fourth, if I remember correctly. And then over to the right, he pops up number 12th in my model rank. Corey Connors, almost exactly. You got fourth on the left. You got third on the right. You got Chris Kirk second. So you can start to see that, and these guys, of course, this is guys that played at the RBC and are playing here at the Valspar. 7 of them pop up, in the top 20 and almost very, very closely aligned. So I thought that was kind of interesting, something I wanted to share with you. It is something that I'm going to use in my own personal opinion. I think Harbor Town is a good comp course to leverage against Valspar. And so, yes, I'm going to look at what I just showed you, those courses, but I think I'm also going to look at the recent results, even the Honda Classic, PGA National, again, a little shorter track, but, it's a Florida course. It's got very similar similarities, tough track. And also from a scoring perspective, of course, Sungjae Im won there. And I'm going to blank on who just recently won the Honda, but that's okay. Like I said, you do this over and over every week, courses run together. Okay, anyways, that's about it. I hope that gives you a good start and gets the brain kind of running. for the Valspar. I'm excited. I really enjoy this tournament. Again, a lot like Harbortown. I think a lot of, if you're a golf enthusiast, you like to see a little bit of tougher track, but they can score on this. It's not going to be a 2-over final score, but it's definitely not going to be a 20 under. It's not going to be a putting contest. So with that said, again, if you like what I'm doing, and of course also for the giveaway for the PGA Championship giveaway, please like the video, share it with anybody else that you think might get some value from what I'm doing. Subscribe if you've not. That would mean the world to me. Again, I'm trying to get to 500 off by 98 subscribers, so you could help me get there. And if I can help you with anything, ask me a question in the YouTube comments, or you can follow me at on the Twitter sphere at DFS Golf Guru. All right, I'm excited for this tournament. I hope you guys do well at the Zurich. Mine, like I said, as I mentioned, not so great in the large GPP, but not bad. But did well on the showdown, grinding that out, did well there. And also on some bets, didn't do too bad. But excited to kind of get back from a betting perspective and from an analysis perspective back to, of course, and an event that we have a ton of data. We can reference all kinds of stuff to kind of get our teams put together. All right, thanks, guys. Talk to you tomorrow.